episode of Going All In, Get the Edge You Need to Succeed. I'm Dr. Erin McKinley, and today we have another awesome spotlight session with Cathie Ostrowski and Amy Bowen from the Meredith College Dietetic Internship and ISPP programs based in Raleigh, North Carolina. All right, welcome to the podcast. To get us started for this episode, Cathie and Amy, give us a quick introduction to you, your journey to RD, and how you landed in your positions with Meredith.
Sure. My name's Cathie Ostrowski. I'm director of the Dietetic Internship program at Meredith College. I've been in the position for 16 years, but I first went to D'Youville College in Buffalo, New York, and I did a program where we started off in our bachelor's program, but then we just molded right into our master's program and our dietetic internship. So it was an accelerated program of 5 years where we went to school every summer as well. So we were able to finish all of our credentials within 5 years. After that, I worked in a clinical setting for about 4 years. And then I moved down to the Raleigh-Durham area and I opened up a private practice. And so I continued to work a little bit in clinical along with my private practice. And then I sold my private practice in 2014 and then went full-time with Meredith College. Actually, just before that, I went full-time with Meredith College. So I've worked in outpatient, I've worked in inpatient nutrition. I've worked with a variety of clients, all different age groups, all across the life cycle. And I'm just really excited to continue to be a part of our dietetic internship at Meredith. I love seeing our students succeed, become registered dietitians, and I love to see where they land. So I'm really excited to be a part of our students' career.
I'm Amy Bowen. I'm the coordinator for the Dietetic Internship program at Meredith College. I started my career, oh my goodness, it's been like 10 years now, 10 years ago. And I'm originally from Pennsylvania, went to a school at Penn State University and attained my degree there. And then I went off to University of Pittsburgh Medical Center Dietetic Internship, and it was a huge tertiary care hospital. We had trauma, we had burn, we had all those really cool things that all of our students want access to, and had a really great experience there. They ended up really liking me and hired me as a clinical dietitian. So I worked there for a little bit, had some really great experience in working with oncology patients, working with outpatients, and really built my skills. And then we ended up relocating to North Carolina, where I ended up again in clinical, but it was a cool spin on clinical. One thing that really got me excited about this position was the fact that this clinical position it wasn't just 100% clinical. There was actually some public relations and community involved in it. Mm-hmm. And so that was something that was very unique and different. So I really got to develop my communication skills, my writing skills there. And then while I was at that clinical facility, we were taking Meredith College dietetic interns. And I just loved working with them. I loved empowering them. I loved seeing how they developed and their passion in clinical. And, started communicating with Cathie and they brought me on as part-time. And so I still worked there as a clinical dietitian and continued to do a little bit more of the public relations and the marketing. And then I ended up joining the team full-time. So here we are, together as a team, as the internship team, and we've been working together for, 5 years now?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so I will let you jump right into your presentation about your program.
Okay, Wonderful. With Meredith College, we have 3 different dietetic internship pathways. Our first pathway is our traditional program. So that's probably the program that students are most familiar with. Our program is 9 months in duration, and we have 12 internship slots in our traditional pathway. So our students apply for our traditional pathway, and then they're provided with their MNT or their clinical site, their food service site preceptors as well, and all of their community preceptors. So it's kind of a no worry type of pathway because you're given your schedule in August. You start going to your sites in August, you finish in April, and our preceptors are really familiar with our program. They're familiar with all of our modules. Those are our activities that you're going to achieve at each of your sites. And our sites are in and around the Raleigh-Durham area. So we go about 60 miles out from the Raleigh-Durham area, but in general, about 80% of our sites are right in the Raleigh-Durham area. So that's our traditional pathway. Our second pathway is our site preceptor pathway, and this pathway has been in existence for 6 years. And with this pathway, you are provided with a MNT or clinical preceptor. You are provided with a food service preceptor, and both of those are done at the same hospital, a community-based hospital in the Raleigh area. So Meredith has hired a preceptor to work at the hospital with just our students. And so we have 12 internship slots in this pathway, and the students work in 3 different groups. So in the fall, there are 4 students working at the site with our preceptor, and those students will complete their food service and their clinical rotations. While that is occurring, our other 8 students are out completing their intern identified sites. So they are identifying their community-based sites. And so they're out doing those community-based sites while Group A in the fall is at the site completing food service and clinical. Then in the spring, Group B comes into the facility. So again, 4 students come into the facility, and then Group A will go out and complete their community-based rotations. Then in April, Group C comes into the facility, again, 4 students, and completes their food service and their clinical rotations. So students in Group A and B, they can complete their program in 9 months. The students in Group C complete their program in 13 months. Now, this program offers a lot of flexibility because if you live locally, of course, it's very easy for you to get to the hospital, and you can use some of our local sites for your community-based sites. But if you don't live in the Raleigh-Durham area, you can move to Raleigh for about 16 weeks. That's the length of time for our food service and for our clinical. And so you can stay in this area for about 16 weeks, complete your clinical and your food service rotations, and then you can go back to your home city or your home state or where you're going to be living after your dietetic internship to complete the rest of your rotations. So it's very, very flexible. So this works a lot like year-round schools. In our area, we have year-round schools where the facility is constantly being used. There's just groups of interns that are going through it at any given time. So again, Meredith has placed an RD preceptor at the site that guides the students and precepts the students so that they meet all of their competencies in food service and in clinical. So as we mentioned, we have groups A, B, and C. Now, Group C, I mentioned, starts in April. So when the program starts in August, so from August to April, those students can complete their community-based sites, either full-time or part-time. They can work if they'd like to, but when they come to Raleigh to do their rotations in food service and in clinical, they are going to be full-time with us. So this Group C offers lots and lots of flexibility. So if you're working, you can still maintain your job until you come to the rotation in April. Maybe you have a family or something else, but our Group C really offers a high level of flexibility, and a lot of students enjoy that flexibility, and that's why they select the Site Preceptor Pathway program. Pathway. So our third pathway is our individualized supervised practice pathway. And so as you might know, this pathway is open to students who may not have matched in the past. So they may have tried to match last year or even this year, they didn't match, and then they can apply to our ISPP program. That program can be done as quick as 9 months, but it could also take up to 2 years if the student has chosen to do the program part-time. So this can be done full-time, this can be done part-time. Now with this ISPP, you do need to identify all of your own sites. So you would need to identify preceptors for food service, for clinical, and for your community rotations. So this offers a very high level of flexibility for students. You can work in almost all 50 states. with rotation, with different sites and different preceptors, gives you a lot of independence, a lot of flexibility, and a lot of students really like that program because they can personalize their own dietetic internship by selecting their own preceptors. So we do ask that interns, whenever possible, try to identify the sites kind of outside the Raleigh-Durham area, because in our state, there's 4 different schools of nutrition. And so it's kind of congested, especially for clinical. There's really not a lot of clinical in this area. So we really encourage students to be aware that there's not going to be a lot of clinical in the Raleigh-Durham area. You would have to kind of go elsewhere for clinical. So those are the 3 pathways that we have available to students. So we offer lots of flexibility and lots of different options on your pathway to becoming a registered dietitian. Now, all of our students follow all the same modules, all the same competencies. It is the location in which you complete them that's different. So we're able to maintain structure, but yet we're also able to have individuality and flexibility throughout your pathway that you're on. All of our students take graduate classes. We have 1 graduate class in the fall, and that is professional communication, leadership, and informatics. So no matter what type of registered dietitian you'd like to be, you're going to be increasing your skills, your professionalism, your leadership, and your informatics. Now, in the spring, we have a class that is our clinical nutrition seminar, and this is not only a prep for the RD exam, but it's also hot topics in nutrition, current research, and current topics in nutrition. So everybody earns at least 6 graduate credits, no matter which pathway you're in. Mrs. B, do you have anything to add to that slide? Anything I've missed?
No, I think it was, you included everything that they would need to know. I think the key take-home message is that we have options at Meredith. So
Yes.
depending on, where you're at in the journey of becoming a registered dietitian, we have so many options for you. And we really do try to emphasize, and personalize your dietetic internship for you.
Yes, yes. Very good. So on to our next slide. So by the numbers, Meredith has a 94% pass rate on the RD exam. That's within 1 year of first attempt. A majority of our students pass on the first attempt, but our pass rate is 94%. That is passing the RD exam within 1 year of first attempt. 99% of our students complete the program within the expected amount of time. So I always like to say students that start our program finish our program, and that number makes us very excited. We have a 100% employment rate. That's employment rate within 1 year of program completion. Many of our students are employed within 3 to 6 months of program completion, but we're required to report the employment rate within 1 year of program completion, and that's at 100%. We do have 100% of our graduates rate themselves as having entry-level skills in the workplace 1 year after program completion. So we meet the needs of our employers. In addition, 100% of our graduates rate themselves as being leaders in their profession or in their community 3 years after program completion. So again, we're very excited about our outcomes. We're meeting and exceeding our program outcomes. Next, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about our coaching program. So Meredith has a very unique personal coaching program available to our dietetic interns. So this is called the Clifton Strength Finders. But sometimes we actually call it Strong Points, which is just sort of it. The brand name is Clifton Strengths, but the Meredith branded name is Strong Points. So this is a specific program that all of our interns go through. So they take a test answering just a variety of questions that they take prior to orientation to our program. And after answering these questions, the program provides you with your top 5 strengths. So this is a research-based assessment tool that helps you identify your top 5 strengths. So the skills that you possess, the strengths that you possess. So this helps us to sort of naturally think, naturally feel, and naturally behave. And this is our talent DNA. Now, our next step is you're going to learn about these 5 strengths all throughout our program. And you will explore these strengths and learn how to use them to shape your professional goals, maximize your potential in your experiential learning rotation, so utilizing those strengths to meet your potential, and then strengthening and enhancing your leadership skills. So you receive guidance at least 3 times during the internship from faculty and staff who are experts in our Strong Points advisory program. So they actually will come to some of our classes and will talk to us about utilizing your strengths all throughout your dietetic internship. The next step is to develop a plan to achieve your professional goals and your leadership potential. Students who utilize and who know and utilize their Clifton strengths are more likely to achieve academic and professional success. They're more likely to have increased confidence. They're more engaged and more productive in their roles as a dietetic intern, and they are happier and they are healthier all throughout the dietetic internship. Now, Meredith has a leadership concentration. So our goal is that 75% of our graduates will be leaders in the profession or in the community within 3 years of completion. But remember, we said a couple slides ago, we're actually exceeding that goal at 100%. So what we do in order to weave into our program this leadership concentration is we're utilizing our Meredith Strong Points curriculum to actively learn, implement, and improve the leadership skills. So in order to be a leader in the field, whether you're going into sports nutrition or whether you are going into a clinical setting or an outpatient setting or a food service setting, you can utilize these leadership skills. So we teach you how to be a leader using these 5 strengths, and we provide you with the characteristics of leaders. Then we have our students identify a critical healthcare issue. We have them devise a proposal to address the issue, and then we present that plan to current DIs and the DI staff and some of our preceptors. So we actually present our plan to address our critical healthcare issue in a professional poster. So we have our students present this poster to other DIs, the DI staff, and preceptors. So it's a highly professional setting that our students complete this activity in. And then our third step in completing our leadership concentration is to identify and secure an enrichment rotation. Our enrichment rotation is our last rotation. It is your rotation of choice. So every student selects their own enrichment rotation. So again, this offers a high level of flexibility and it lets you personalize your DI. So if you're interested in gaining more information in maternal and infant nutrition, you can go in that avenue. If you're more interested in nutrition support, if you're more interested in working with people with diabetes or people with eating disorders or sports nutrition, you can do that. So our students will identify and secure an enrichment rotation. They will then perform a needs assessment at that rotation, and then they will collaborate with their preceptors in order to develop goals and a plan to appropriately meet the needs of the nutritional assessment. So that's how we weave our leadership concentration into our dietetic internship.
Yeah, and one example of the needs assessment, actually the enrichment rotation is our students' favorite rotation because they really get to individualize it and really take, leadership, towards what they're interested in. And so one of the students, she was doing a needs assessment on, FTEs at a hospital. And she ended up creating a job for herself by identifying that they do in fact need an additional FTE. And she was, able to, obtain a job that way. So our students really love and embrace the enrichment rotation. And it's probably one of their favorite rotations. I'm sure Carly will be able to speak to that as well.
She will be, yes. Yes, for sure. For sure. So that's usually students, they want to stay longer at their enrichment rotation because they're just enjoying it. And it's the last step before becoming a registered dietitian. So they really enjoy that rotation. So this is our internship at a glance. So again, every intern, no matter which pathway you are in, every single intern will complete the same academic schedule. It's just at a different location or maybe at a different pace. But if you're working with us in our traditional and in our site preceptor pathway, it's usually roughly 40 hours per week, but we did say in Group C of our site preceptor pathway and in our ISPP, you could reduce those hours a little bit. It's traditional working hours, sort of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., but there's certainly early mornings for food service, and there might be evenings for your wellness type of rotations, your outpatient rotations. So some early mornings and evenings can be expected, but traditionally it's business hours. In the clinical setting, in your medical nutrition therapy rotation, you're going to be working in a hospital for 12 weeks, completing 8 different modules. And these modules will be in areas such as endocrinology, cardiology, malnutrition, renal setting, GI setting, nutrition support. Our interns will do a self-paced online set of modules for long-term care. We found that there's so many positions available in long-term care that we want our students to be exposed to long-term care. So we will have you do an online self-study module in long-term care. Our students will be in the community for 8 weeks, completing 10 different modules. And again, a module is a list of activities that you will achieve at your site. And your community sites will be public health. It might be FNET program, or it might be cooperative extension, or it might be a WIC program. And then also in a wellness setting, maybe private practice, maybe cardiac rehabilitation, maybe pulmonary rehabilitation, or something similar. Our students will complete 6 weeks in a food service management rotation, completing 10 different modules. And then our students will be in our enrichment rotation, which we said was your rotation of choice for about a week, developing your own modules and objectives.
So previously we talked about those different pathways, and one of the pathways, or two of the pathways that we have at Meredith College, are the site preceptor pathway and the ISPP pathway. And so both of those pathways have some component of identifying and securing your own sites. One thing that's unique to Meredith College is that we don't have a requirement that you have to have all of your rotations secured prior to applying to our program. We know that there are tons of challenges out there and unique barriers for our students in securing and identifying sites. And we don't want that to be another barrier to you actually being accepted into a dietetic internship program. So because of that, we don't require that as an application requirement for you to have everything secured. Does it look favorable to have at least some of your preceptors secured, or at least know where you want to do your rotations? Absolutely, but it's not a requirement. We do help you confirm and manage your sites. So you are not alone in this. We're not just going to say, okay, go out and find your sites, no assistance from us. We absolutely support you and provide assistance as much as possible through our dietetic internship program. And as Cathie had mentioned, we can work with most states. There are some weird caveats to working with Colorado, but we actually have 3 students who are rotating through Colorado this year, so it doesn't seem to be an issue as much. We have, again, higher levels of flexibility in the program, which, again, you can personalize your program depending on where you're at in your journey in becoming a registered dietitian. And then we had already mentioned that the ISPP and the SPP Group C can be done part-time. So if that's something that is desirable to you and you want to be able to work, or you have, other outside responsibilities that you would like to continue on with or need to continue on with, then you can do that. And then we also have access, because we've been established for so long and we have established relationships with preceptors and so many different states nationwide. We have a large preceptor database that you have access to as a Meredith College dietetic intern. And again, it goes along with the detailed handbook, so you are not alone. You receive training on all of this. And that's one of the things that we do immediately when you get accepted into our program is, okay, how do I find a preceptor?
Well, one of our hardworking dietetic interns is with us this evening, and she worked late at her site, but we're still so glad that she could join us. But she's going to join us slightly in the dark there. But Carly, we're so excited that you could take time out of your day and come and support our program. So, Carly, can you tell us a little bit about you, and then a little bit about some of your rotations?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Carly Lester, and I have currently completed 3 of my rotations. So I have completed my wellness rotation, my public health rotation, and I am currently in the midst of my clinical rotation. And the reason that I chose Meredith was not only because of the amazing program that it is, but of the leadership concentration specifically. Like they mentioned before, with Strong Points, everything is kind of customized to you. And it's not just something that you take at the beginning and it's kind of forgotten late, like afterwards. It's something that is completely reinforced and repetitive throughout and woven into our modules. So not only are you gaining experience in the dietetics field, you are understanding what kind of leader you are and how best it will be for you to lead once you get out of your internship. And so I would definitely say some of the best qualities for an intern to have would be flexibility, absolutely, because you never know when something's going to change in your site. And it's just kind of life that things are always changing and you have to be ready to adapt. Critical thinking skills are always great. I would definitely say being passionate about your work is another great skill to have, because you're going to be seeing a lot of people who are looking to you for advice and you want to help them the best way that you can. And coming off as passionate and understanding is very important in our field.
And you're certainly learning using all of those skills in your clinical setting right now.
Absolutely. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one of the best advices that I can give to any intern out there is you can be prepared educationally for your site, but there are just some things that you will not be able to prepare for in your clinical site. You just have to take it as it comes and learn as you go.
Yes.
That's very true. Sure. And I'm sure your cohort would agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, especially amidst the pandemic here. Things have been changed and adjusted, but we've been able to stay on schedule. Yes, very good. Well, I got to meet your dog this weekend, Carly.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very good. Very good.
We do a lot of pet therapy at Meredith College, so we're always showing like our pets on Zoom, and we want to know each other's pets' names, and a lot of variety of pets. So
yes, for sure.
Yes, I think just last night, me and Mrs. O were talking to Mary about her dog in the background because he was so cute.
Yes, he was included in class last night. Yes, our classes are online on Tuesday evening, so Tuesday's our long day. All of us, yes. Very good, very good. Mrs. B, did you want to continue here?
Sure, yeah. So additional program details that we have. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it can be found on our website. But we have the 2 graduate classes that we had mentioned before. We have the Advanced Clinical Nutrition Seminar. Really, that's just a built-in RD prep course, and we do talk about how to really develop yourself as a professional and a leader in the field and prepare you as a registered dietitian. Again, we have another graduate course, which Carly has just finished up with, which I'm sure she's very thankful for, is the Professional Communication and Leadership in Informatics. So we have a lot of really unique and cool projects that we do to not only help develop our students' communication skills, but really to apply leadership and learn what is informatics and how can we disseminate information to all types of populations. We also encourage and require our students to attend Professional Dietetic Association meetings and really start making connections and networking. We have a strong focus on cultural competence, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have detailed nutrition-focused physical exam and malnutrition training, which we do not only in orientation, but we continue to do throughout. Actually, one of our students was displaced temporarily from her clinical site, and we were able to, in that time frame, really help her virtually to practice her nutrition-focused physical exams. I worked with her one-on-one to help develop that training so that when she was ready to go back into her site, she could feel prepared, and the site would feel confident in having her do nutrition-focused physical exams. We have our students develop comprehensive professional eat portfolios. So at the end of their dietetic internship, they're going to have a comprehensive professional portfolio that they can show prospective employers of everything that they've done throughout the year. And I think when they look back on everything that they've done, they're like, oh my gosh, how did I accomplish all of that in a year? And then we have 8 days on campus of orientation. I think that's going to be subject to change with COVID. But we're very successful with a virtual, online orientation this year. And we did 3 weeks online, and then those 8 days of really full immersion, I would say, orientation for our students. So that's just some additional program details of Meredith College Dietetic Internship.
So during our orientation, we have simulation. So let us talk about simulation here. This is just some examples of simulation that we have done in the past with our students. So we do utilize, outside of COVID, we do utilize a full simulation lab through a local community college, and they let us come in here. So here's a picture of us assessing patients in this simulation lab. And then here we are. This is some of our students assessing a child that's been admitted to the hospital with type 1 diabetes, or a new onset type 1 of diabetes. And then in the classroom, we have a full assessment lab that we utilize where we have our students exposed to the different feeding tubes, different ostomies, and all types of different equipment and things you might see in a patient's room. We want our students to be ready to walk in a patient's room and understand what they're going to see, what they're going to hear, what they're going to smell, and what they're going to be exposed to. So that way, when they go to clinical their first day, they are ready to dive in, and their learning curve in terms of being in a hospital is not so long.
We probably should have invited Avery. Avery is our patient care simulator.
She's our patient care simulator. She's right here. This is us. This is us this past year during orientation, because we had to do orientation, myself and Mrs. B. We had to do orientation. We had to simulate it all since we couldn't have the students together. And so this was Avery here in the classroom that we were doing it in. So we adjusted well for COVID, and we did well here. One of the new things that we added this year 360-degree video technology, where we have a special camera where we can take a picture of Avery and the room that she's in, and actually the camera spins around so that you can see her tube feeding here, you can see her IV fluids, you can see her wounds, and all those types of things using a 360-degree camera. So that was something new that we just added this fall, actually. So our enrichment sites, this is our rotation of choice. We just gave you some examples of some of the places that our students have worked in. They've worked with Cooking Light. They've worked with research dietitians at Duke University. They've worked in private practice. They've worked at some of the big hospitals in the area and some Army hospitals in the area, but they've also worked with grocery stores, facilities that work with patients with eating disorders. And then we have 2 international rotations. We have one in San Sepolcro, Italy, which is a full immersion 12-day program full immersion into the Mediterranean diet. So here are our students making pasta, some of the meals that we serve, and of course in Florence. So we do a full immersion 12-day rotation in the Mediterranean diet. And then we also have another international rotation. This is in Peru with Projects Abroad, where our students would work with nutritionists in Peru, identifying moms and children at risk for malnutrition. So they take anthropometrics in the morning with the children and the infants and the moms. And then in the evening, they conduct nutrition education classes. So this is just a sampling of some of our enrichment sites. Mm-hmm. These are some of our recent employers. Again, some of the really big hospital facilities in our area, but then national facilities such as Johns Hopkins, Boston Children's Hospital, Carolinas Medical Center, Cleveland Clinic, but also many of our dietitians, many of our students, they've worked in private practice as well. So again, just a sampling of some of the recent employers. So our application process is much like other programs. So we're using the DICAS system. And so we require all the same items that every other dietetic internship requests: your personal statement, your DICAS application. We do have two different portals. We have one portal for our traditional pathway. We have one portal for our site preceptor pathway. So you can apply to one or both portals, but then we do have a separate portal for our ISPP program as well. And of course, that'll open after match. We require your transcripts, 3 letters of reference, your verification statement or your declaration to intent, or to complete, your application fee, and then TOEFL scores for international students only as needed. Of course, like everybody, the application date is February 15th. You have to apply in DICAS and DND. And then we have an application fee that's mailed directly to Meredith College and should be post-dated by the 15th. For our selection criteria, 40% of your application, we sort of base on your academics, your GPA, your DPD GPA, your professional GPA. We look at 35% for your leadership and your professional experience. So your leadership experience, whether it's in nutrition or in your community, we know you might not have a lot of leadership experience in nutrition because you may be new to the field after about 4 years, but you may have had lots of experience in your community. So leadership, and then your professional experience, whether paid or whether academic or whether volunteer. And then 25% is based on our letters of reference and our personal statement. Now, with COVID, we know that leadership and professional experience is maybe lower this year, so we may swap these numbers a little bit there. So Carly talked a little bit about what we're looking for in an applicant. So I'll just add to what she had said. We like students who display the critical thinking skills and retain previously taught information. We love students who show initiative and they're easygoing and they're flexible and they're independent. We love students who are prompt, they meet deadlines, they ask for help as needed, they problem solve on their own. We look for students who are passionate, have a zest for learning. We look for students who have had some level of long-term care or acute care experience. But again, don't let that scare you with COVID. We understand the issues related to that. And so we're not going to be as tight on this as we usually are. We're going to be very flexible. And then we love students who reach out, for a personal visit, or maybe come to one of our open houses. We love to meet the students ahead of time whenever possible. So our tuition and our financial assistance information is all listed on our website. Here's the summary here, but we do want to indicate that since we do have graduate classes, our students are eligible for Stafford loans. You're eligible for graduate loans up to around $20,000, and they're eligible for tuition and for living expenses. And this is through your FAFSA application. So that is unique to our program, that you can apply for financial assistance. So if you don't get into a DI, we did just offer here a few ideas for you. You might want to consider an ISPP if you didn't get into a DI during the first round. You could consider taking the NDTR exam, maybe boosting your experience and try again, or you could look at a graduate program to maybe earn a graduate degree in graduate school. But we do have 20 slots available in our ISPP program. So if something just doesn't go your way in the traditional match, you could consider a few other ideas there. Now, Ms. B, do you want to talk about this? Because we did want to offer everybody a few ideas today to boost their experience amidst COVID.
Yeah, I would say this is probably the top question that we get, and I don't know about you as well, Dr. McKinley, but we get this question all the time. What are some creative ways, or how can I boost experience with COVID? It's been so hard to get any experience, and I'm really worried or concerned about it when I'm going into and wanting to apply to a dietetic internship. And we hear you, we hear our students, and we wanted to help and offer some creative ways that you can boost your experience that might not be on site. So a lot of these are virtual opportunities. And so one of those is, making a free account with Abbott Nutrition Health Institute. And the website is on the screen and located in your marketing materials as well. And there are dozens of webinars and trainings, and there's even a certificate of malnutrition training, which is 100% free and would look amazing on an application. You can create a Zoom meeting with friends and discuss what you've learned, and then begin applying that information that you've learned. So you're not only just learning information, you're then discussing it and taking initiative to talk about it with other students and really start discussing and applying what you've learned. You could set up a journal club with your peers, read some journal articles, like you guys aren't already reading more already, but, specific to things that maybe you're interested in nutrition or something you really don't know a lot about, and really share that information with some of your peers and, start to talk about research and apply research and start learning about what does that mean in our field of nutrition. And then I would say one of the most popular ones that we have had, pretty good success with is prerd.org. And so both preceptors and students can post on there if they have opportunities or if they're looking for opportunities to gain experience. Some of them are paid, some of them are volunteer. So, I would encourage you, if you are looking to boost your experience, there's a lot of virtual opportunities right now that have been posted on that site recently. So I would encourage you to go there. And then volunteer match is actually something that Cathie had identified. And one of the things, there's so many different things that you could do to volunteer. But one of the things that was really cool, especially in our local areas, one of the hospice companies or one of the hospice providers in our area, they were just looking for volunteers to just call hospice patients or hospice patients at night and just talk with them and have a conversation, not providing any nutrition therapy, but you're just there to have a conversation. So developing your communication skills, but tons and tons of opportunities on volunteermatch.org. And then if you haven't done so already, I would highly encourage you to have some type of LinkedIn profile and presence on LinkedIn. I think now even more, a lot of students and a lot of providers and a lot of dietitians are now utilizing LinkedIn since we have more of this virtual connection. And so I would encourage you to maybe type in something that you're interested in. Maybe you're interested in private practice. Type in private practice in Raleigh, North Carolina, and see what type of dietitians pop up. Feel free to reach out to them and connect with them and see if there's any virtual or in-person opportunities available.
So what makes Meredith different? We have a regional reputation from our preceptors. They really like to see the Meredith students come through, and they sometimes beg us for students. They're like, please come and speak. We need another
That's
student.
True.
Yes, our leadership concentration and our Strong Points personal coaching program, our last rotation of choice to personalize your DI, the things that make us different, our 1-year pass rate, our program completion rate, our online classes that include an RD prep for the exam, the ability to apply for financial assistance, our international rotations, and inclusive and supportive environment, strong, attentive DI team as well. Those are all the things that make us different.
Yeah, our students tend to say that we're a little mother hen-ish.
A little bit. Maybe Carly would agree. We're a little mother
We really
hen-ish.
care about our students.
We
Yes.
do. Since it's a small school, we really care about our students a lot. It's kind of inbred in us. We also have a Master's of Science program here at Meredith College. Right now, it's a separate program from our DI, but we do have that program, and a lot of our students come from the Master's of Science into the DI, or vice versa. Some students go through our DI and then they go to our Master's of Science. So you can connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. So those are some of the ways that you can get social with us.
My personal experience with my rotations I have met multiple people in my rotations that either went to Meredith, got their master's degree at Meredith, did their internship through Meredith. So Meredith definitely has a lot of connections, especially in the Raleigh-Durham area. So,
all right. Thank you for that overview. That was extremely thorough. I feel like I learned
that's us. We're extremely thorough.
So we'll jump right into the 5 questions that I ask every program that comes on the podcast. And these questions were put together with the help of my students to make sure I was asking the right questions, the tough questions. So the first one is there one thing or multiple things that you just love to see when you're reading an applicant's personal statements?
So this one's mine. I'm going to take this question. we separated them out. Let's see. So I love for a personal statement to really paint a picture. I want to be able to read that personal statement and be able to visualize in my head what the student is talking about. So if the student is talking about helping family members with their health or being exposed to health issues in their family, I want to be able to sort of see the student alongside their family members, helping them and guiding them through their health situations that they're having. Or if they themselves went through something traumatic in their life or just something impactful in their life, I want to be able to visualize it. So I want to be able to hear it and to see it so that I remember that personal story in their personal statement. So that's what I like to see.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. And then also making sure that we, at Meredith, we have certain questions that we want our prospective students to answer in their personal statement. So just making sure that they are actually going through and answering those questions. Why do you want to, come to Meredith College? What is important to you about our program, or why do you want to apply to our program, be a part of our program? And making sure that they're thoroughly answering that question. But yes, 100%. I think what separates a student's personal statement is their story and really telling their story and sharing it.
All right. Well, my second question is a true or false question.
Ooh.
So true or false, an applicant's resume should be 1 page and 1 page only. Either way, why?
All right. At the same time, Cathie, ready?
1, 2, 3. False.
False.
You see how we work together. So Carly's, was yours 1 or 2 pages?
Mine was absolutely 2 pages.
Yes, 2 pages, yes. And we think this is the case because our students have had a minimum of 4 years of experience before they come to us. So they should be able to take more than 1 page to explain to us their experiences, their work experience, their professional experience, their volunteer experience, and be able to showcase for us their skills that they've honed to date. So I think more than 1 page is absolutely fine to have because you do need to explain what you've done to date. So you're going to need more than 1 page to do that.
All right. So my next question is, what is 1 or more things that an applicant may do, and this could be in the application itself or any interaction you have with them beforehand or during the application process, things that they may do that might maybe raise some red flags to where you may think this person isn't the best fit for this program?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is, blanks on your application. I can't tell you how many times students might assume that we're just going to look at the resume and not look at the actual application. And so they leave some portions of the application blank. And so you want to make sure that you fill in every single part of your application. It might feel redundant, but for us, your resume might be the last thing that we see when we actually review your application in DICAP. So make sure that you're going through and you're filling in everything. And that's very much like if you've applied to a job before, you not only do you have to submit your resume, but you have to fill in all of those experiences. It's the same thing with your DICAS application. And again, that's attention to detail. That's showing that you care, that you're taking initiative. And so I would say for me, not filling out things. And then also, unfortunately, we've seen students, put the wrong program in their personal statement because you are applying to multiple programs.
Oh, no.
So, personalize it as much as possible. Why specifically do you want to be a dietetic intern at Meredith College? Why is it a good match? And how are you going to stand out is really really important. And so those are kind of my big things of that might be a hard stop.
Yes. Yeah,
and I do try and give the students the benefit of the doubt too. So if we have a student that has a really great application and some areas are blank, we might actually reach out to that student and say, gosh, what happened here, or, can you explain that a little bit more? So
I don't care for spelling errors. I mean, certainly it's possible to make a spelling error, but Carly, how many people looked at your application before you hit submit or complete?
Oh gosh, so many. I
Yes.
think I sent it to like everyone I knew, all my professors. Please look at this.
Yes. So hopefully you'll be able to weed out some of those spelling errors there. But I like to see every area of the application, complete, no blanks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then just one more. I know that kind of running tight on time, but one more I would say is if you are doing an in-person interview, sometimes here at Meredith College we don't do in-person interviews, but we do like to meet our students either via open house or virtual appointments. But make sure, students who don't have any affect, you have no idea, they have no facial expressions, they're not giving you any idea of if they're understanding what you're saying, or they're not showing any passion or excitement. Obviously we don't want, fake excitement, right. But, I would say authentic students, showing authentic passion and authentic and I would say like intentional interest in your program is really desirable, and having no affect is something that would be kind of a turnoff for us for a potential applicant.
And that's because our preceptors have told us, they're like, we want feedback from the student. We want the student to smile gently or, sort of frown if they're a little confused about something, but they want to be able to have feedback. And that sometimes comes with facial expression. So that's been something that our preceptors have told us for many, many years that they like to see.
Is there one area in particular that you're really working on trying to make an even better experience for your interns?
Oh yeah, I would say one thing that we're really trying to be, a lot more intentional. You'll find that our word intention is one of our big words this year, is really to continue to develop and, provide resources and opportunities for our students to practice and apply culturally informed care. And we want our students to know and be aware of, how do they provide equitable and inclusive care for a diverse population, because we know our clients, we know our patients are diverse. We want our students to be able to provide equitable treatment. We want our students to be able to provide and be equitable and inclusive dietitians. And so one example of that we did this year is we had our interns do, and I'm sure Carly can speak to this as well, we had our students do a critical self-evaluation and assessment of their identity, and kind of expose some of those implicit biases that we don't even know exist. Because we know the key to developing cultural humility is really through self-reflection and self-awareness. So that's one thing that we're going to continue to explore and work on with our students. And then along with that is for our prospective students, we know that there are so many barriers for our students of color coming into and trying to become a registered dietitian, that we really are being purposeful and intentional about identifying those barriers and trying to break those barriers as much as possible. So I would say those, I know you asked for one, but those are two things that we're really focusing on this year. It's hard to pick just one.
Those are very, very important. So I'm glad you mentioned those. Love it. All right. My last of the 5 is a 2-parter, and you've already kind of hit on a lot of this stuff, but the first part is, what would be the 3 best adjectives, descriptors, or phrases that you feel describes your program overall?
One of the things that I kind of hone in on Tuesdays, the Tuesday night classes, I take the lead on the Tuesday night classes. So Carly and all the students are tired of talking to me every Tuesday, because every Tuesday I say, students, I want you to elevate your practice. I want you to walk into the site being very confident and having an elevated practice. That's why in class and during orientation, we really encourage you to strive to not only do your best work, but even reach a little further than that to elevate your practice. Be very intentional with your assignments, be intentional with your assessments and your educations. So I would say elevating practice, being very intentional. Let's see, can anybody help me with the third one?
I would say inclusive and caring.
I was going to say caring.
We provide a very supportive environment, an environment where students feel safe to talk about whatever they need to talk about. We've had some really difficult, uncomfortable conversations this year, and we want our students to feel like it's a safe space to do that. So I would say those are probably the three things that describe our program the best. And maybe Carly can add, one or two, or, maybe just agree with them. Yeah. Yeah, definitely want to put you on the spot, but I would say those are probably the three big ones that we focus on.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I think someone said understanding. I definitely agree with that, especially, with our class. I think everyone's lives are very hectic, and I think Mrs. O and Mrs. B do a great job at being very understanding if we need a little extra time on an assignment, because, we've been really busy at our sites that week. We actually have a 3-day grace period for our class assignments if we do need that. And they're always very understanding with what we have going on. And I would definitely agree with inclusive, because even with the other interns, when we had that conversation about, personal identifiers, that night in class, I felt very comfortable we split up into small groups, and I felt very comfortable talking about those things with my fellow interns. And I think it's just a great culture that this internship has, and, the people and fellow interns that are part of the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, flexibility is definitely one too.
All right, moving into that last half of the question, 3 adjectives, descriptors, or phrases that you feel describes your ideal applicant.
I think we'll let Carly answer this one. What do we like? What do we like to see? I know I put you on the spot again. What do we like to see? Like, what do you see? What do you show us? And then what does your cohort show us?
So I definitely, out of my cohorts, everyone is so motivated.
Yes.
Very creative.
True.
So creative. Some of the
Y'all
projects
have taught me so much.
Yes. And Mrs. O, I hear this every single week, intentional. Being intentional with what we learn, what we do. Yes, I definitely think that of someone who is intentional about what they do and learning and going kind of above and beyond is kind of what I see in my fellow cohorts.
Yes. They text each other in an app on a regular basis, and I think they end up motivating each other with some of the activities that they're completing. So that's been such a bonus. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I love my my fellow cohorts.
Very good.
What are you doing in the program? How are you integrating RD exam review in? Because they're doing really well on the exam. So what are you doing to really help them with that?
In our fall class, we review dietitian exam questions, and that's actually their final. And the average of this particular class, was quite high. It was about a 94 on the exam. They did really well. So in our fall class, we review dietitian exam questions. And then in our spring class, we discuss a variety of topics that maybe students aren't receiving at the site. For example, going through mathematical equations. We painfully go through those on our Tuesday night classes and review those. And then each student takes roughly a minimum of 3, but usually students take 4 or 5 100 question exams before finishing the spring class. So we utilize critical thinking during our class so that we can evaluate some of these exam questions well. And then the students take timed online exam questions. They take a minimum of 3 to 5 exams before they leave the dietetic internship. To desensitize them to taking the exam online.
Yeah, and we purposefully use a variety of different RD prep materials because we know that the more experience they get, the more variety they get. And we've heard from our students that when they are studying for the RD exam, that most helpful thing for them is that they have used a variety of RD prep resources. Yeah. And so we try to incorporate that into our dietetic internship. And one additional thing that we added this year is, we found especially with food service, they might not get time to really dive into some of those food service equations and their actual rotations and some of those managerial or leadership concepts and theoretical theories of things in food service can seem a little bit abstract, and they're not really able to apply it. And so we actually created almost like a RD prep course specific for food service management, so that things that they might not necessarily get in their rotations, they're still adequately prepared for the RD exam.
All right, perfect. So to close out this episode, I would love for Cathie and Amy to each give us one little quick last take-home message for potential applicants.
Oh, I love that question. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll start. I would say that when you're applying for a dietetic internship, each program is going to holistically look at your application. So be sure that you include all of your activities and experiences in your application. And be sure that you're picking references that can truly speak to your experiences in medical nutrition therapy and in food service. So I would say don't compare yourself to others.
Yeah.
Just understand that you have a strong application and focus in your application on letting DI directors and admission committees review your application. So don't compare yourself. Just let us know what makes you you and why we should consider you for our dietetic internship.
Yeah, I would say going along with that is be yourself. I know it sounds super cliche, but just be yourself and present your best self. And whether or not that particular program does in-person interviews or not, make it a point, go out of your way to meet that dietetic internship director or staff. Make sure that you are presenting your best self and you are being yourself, and you're taking opportunities to meet the dietetic internship staff. You're taking the opportunity to, if you're able to go visit. I know that's really difficult with COVID right now, but virtual appointments, creating a Zoom appointment, or asking for a Zoom appointment. We're not as scary as we sound. We're very approachable. So, don't hesitate to reach out and take that chance with a dietetic internship.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, all of you, for being with me on this episode. And for those at home, if you're interested in getting some more information on the different tracks they have available at Meredith College, I've included the website link to their program in the description below this video. And as always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss an episode with another awesome dietetic internship. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for having us. It was fun.